You're listening to The Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates. Online at thelibertybeat.com. John Bush here with your Liberty Beat for February 8th, 2013. Gold opened today at $1,677, silver at $31.76, and Bitcoin is trading at $22.39. Today's edition of the Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Central Texas Gun Works, offering firearms training courses, concealed carry classes, and firearm sales. Online at centraltexasgunworks.com. And now the news. A former Los Angeles cop with military training vowed war against other men in blue Thursday, leaving one officer dead days after he allegedly killed two other people to begin a wave of retribution for being fired, police said. The focus of the intensive, expansive manhunt is Christopher Jordan Dorner, a 270-pound former Navy lieutenant who has professed his venom against LAPD officers he claimed ruined his life by forcing him out of his dream job. Dorner blames one retired officer for bungling his appeal to get his job back in an 11-page manifesto in which he has also complained of mistreatment by the LAPD. In that letter, he vowed to violently target police officers and their families, whoever and wherever they are. The chairman of a Senate committee recessed John Brennan's CIA confirmation hearings and cleared the room after protesters persistently interrupted the proceedings.
Speak for the mothers.
All right.
Children.
We will stop again.
In Yemen,
all right.
Pakistan, Somalia, and where else?
Please remove that
CIA and the Obama administration refuse to even tell Congress.
Police removed several protesters at the beginning of the hearing on Thursday. More began yelling after Brannan began testifying, and Intelligence Committee Chairman Dianne Feinstein ordered the hearing recessed while the room was cleared. The protesters were shouting objections to lethal U.S. drone strikes and harsh interrogation methods. A severe winter storm is barreling towards some of the most heavily populated parts of the country today, closing thousands of schools, causing massive travel disruption, and threatening to bring more than 2 feet of snow and gale force winds to much of the Northeast. The National Weather Service issued blizzard warnings from North New Jersey, northeast to Maine, and with New York and Boston expecting to be among the hardest hit. Airlines canceled more than 2,400 flights across the region as the storm barreled eastward from the Midwest and Great Lakes, according to FlightAware.com. The Liberty Beat is sponsored by Parents for Liberty, bringing the philosophy of liberty to parenting and parenting to the philosophy of liberty. Online at parentsforliberty.org, and by Brave New Books, specializing in free-thinking material for free people since 2006. Online at bravenewbookstore.com.
My remedy today came in a box, just like they say. I accepted it for value right away. If not sooner, not later. We are originators, and the pathway seems to get straighter every day. And I can take anything that belongs to me and put it to good use. Whatever's good for the gander is gonna work for the goose. I know some architects, I know some engineers. They seen the evidence, they know something seems queer. What's up with the blatant deception? What is the nature of what you might gain? I see something headed straight for you. I think it looks just like a train. It smells like a sham asunder. I can see him playing fast and loose.
Okay, we are back. Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Eddie Craig, Real Law Radio. And we're talking to Johnny in Texas. Okay, what else did you have for us? So the issues about the JP court.
Yeah, we were discussing the fact that, you know, most of the motions that you would file have to be filed 10 days prior to the hearing, and I only had 9 days notice. so I guess I could object to the inadequate notice. One other thing that I wanted to ask you about, the attorney firm that served the notice is out of Houston, and they don't have any other offices, and there are only 2 attorneys in the entire firm. It's a relatively small firm. If another attorney comes and stands in this eviction hearing, I had contemplated doing a Rule 10 challenge, which basically says I don't think this attorney has any authority to be standing in here. And once that assertion is made, the burden falls on the attorney to prove that he does have the authority to be standing in and representing whoever he's representing. But that is another motion that has to be served on the attorney at least 10 days before the hearing, but I don't have that opportunity. So if I were going to make a Rule 10 challenge, should I just file it, a day or so before the hearing, and when they complain about it, I didn't have 10 days notice? Well, neither did I.
Well, yeah, we can. Yeah, we need to get a motion for continuance in Monday. Okay.
Well, I can do that. And this judge that I'm going to see is a judge. All of this stuff with this eviction and everything is a continuation of things that have been going on since 2009. There was an eviction attempt in 2009 as well before this same judge, and I did manage to get a continuance in that hearing as well, which he told me was pretty rare. They almost never give continuances, but it was on the same grounds that, at that time I only had 4 days notice. And, what I complained to the judge about at that time was, look, I only had 4 days to try to find out what's going on here and to prepare. And there are all these things under the rules of procedure which say I have to, do what I'm going to do 10 days before this hearing. I didn't even know about it until 4 days ago, so I'm denied my rights under the, the rules of procedure and denied, options. And he did grant a continuance, so I'll probably do the same thing again.
Good. And then we don't want to challenge the lawyer and give him fair warning.
Well, that's what I was going to. Since I only got 9 days notice, which precludes all of the rules throughout the rules of civil procedure, which say, if you're going to serve this motion or that motion, it has to be done 10 days before the hearing. I was thinking about just filing it like a day before the hearing, and when they complain and say, well, Your Honor, I didn't get 10 days notice, well, you know what, Your Honor, neither did I.
That's a good idea. That's a good strategy.
Okay.
And it raises a good issue. You need the continuance in so that your objection to the sufficient notice is on the record.
Okay.
And we can have that in Monday. I like the Rule 10 challenge.
Yeah, I do too. It places the burden on them.
These are great fun. And make sure you bar grieve him for not giving you enough notice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't know about all this bar grievance stuff and the judicial misconduct complaint stuff in the last eviction hearing a few years ago, but in this next hearing, it's going to be judicial misconduct complaints and bar grievances all around every time somebody opens their mouth.
Good. That's good for them. Okay. Do you have any other questions or comments?
Nope. That's it. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you. Now we're going to go to Rob in Texas. Rob in New Mexico. Rob, I hear you have had some fun.
Yeah, I'm almost offended by that, though, that Texas thing. But I'll forgive you because I like Texas. I got a stupid question for you before I get into the fun. What form should a judicial notice go in? That a motion or request or just judicial notice? Or
mine generally says you are hereby directed to take judicial notice of whatever. Okay. But be careful of what you direct judicial notice of. Mm-hmm. A judicial notice of law and judicial notice of uncontestable facts.
Right. That's all I want.
Okay. What's in the court record? what's in the county registrar's office, that you can take judicial notice of. And that's the only thing I do judicial notice of. If I state a fact, never state a fact unless you have evidence to support it. But you can't ask the court to take judicial notice of that, because someone else may bring rebuttal evidence to your evidence in support of the facts.
Right. Now, what I want judicial notice of is certain state statutes and what's in the Secretary of State's record and the county record.
Perfect. Those you absolutely can do. And the judge has a duty to determine the facts in accordance with the rules of evidence, then apply the law as it comes to him with the facts in the case. And this is a way to make sure the law is before him.
Well, I found out something fun about a week and a half ago before I get into my fun stuff. I found a law that says that a limited partnership must be registered with the Secretary of State, or it can't operate in the state, can't sue in the state, so on and so forth. And according to the Secretary of State's website, now I'm going to have to write a letter to the Secretary of State to get confirmation of this, but according to the website, there is no record of Back Home Loan Servicing LP having ever been registered with the state of New Mexico.
Okay, you're not going to win that one. BAC Home Loans is registered with the federal government. What the federal government told the judge in Utah, I don't care if they're registered in your state or not. So long as they're registered with us, they can practice anywhere they want to. That's well settled.
My understanding was that was only with the national associations, not with the LPs. But
you could be right about that.
But yeah, let's. I just thought that was interesting.
If it's not with the
anyway.
With the LPs, if the LP is registered with the federal government and licensed to be a lender, that's what it went to. It didn't go to the type of company it was. It went to the type of business that we're in. So I don't think you'll win it, but it'd be great fun to go after.
It cost them more money anyway.
Exactly.
So I had my pretrial settlement conference yesterday in the federal court here with the bank and the foreclosure mill. And they came in with the bank offering nothing and the foreclosure mill offering $1,000. And the magistrate asked me what I wanted. And I told him I wanted $115,000 from each of them, two defendants. And so he talked to us for a little while. I asked how the case got here, if it was originally filed in Mississippi, and I explained to him that I was living in Mississippi when I found these two individual company people in my credit report. And that during my credit report disputes with them, I learned that they had stolen a piece of property that I owned here in New Mexico. And so he was interested in that, and he explained the rules to us, and that this was all confidential and off the record, and he wouldn't report any of it to the presiding judge, and he wouldn't tell the other side anything that I didn't want them to know, and he wouldn't tell me anything they didn't want me to know. And then he took me into his office and left them in the conference room, and he talked to me for a little while about my case and went back and talked to them for a little while and came back with the bank offering, I think, $3,000 and the foreclosure mill offering $1,500. And I said, I appreciate that, but that's, not nearly close enough. And we talked a little bit more about my case, and he went back and talked to them for a while and came back and talked to me again and said that they had raised their offer to, like 5 and 2 or something like that. I don't remember the exact numbers, but this went back and forth a couple times, and I lowered my settlement offer down to $90,000 each, and they raised theirs to a combined total of $20,000. And, I thanked the magistrate for his time, but I told him that just wasn't good enough, and I couldn't agree to that. That was their final offer. And so as we were leaving, Trey came up to me and said that the attorney for the bank wanted to talk to me. I said, okay, no problem. And the attorney and I went back into the judge's chambers and into his office. And the attorney told me that he really thought that I should take the settlement, that I didn't have a chance of winning the case, and I could have $20,000 in my pocket tomorrow, or I could drag this out another 6 months and get nothing. And he really felt for me, and he knew I'd been screwed over, but I just didn't have a case. And I just smiled and told him, well, yeah, I think I do, and I'm sure he's going to rule in my favor, and if I lose, I'll appeal it. You know, we'll just see how it plays out. And I was just wondering, if I don't have a case and I'm going to get hosed on this whole thing, why did they offer to give me $20,000? Randy?
Oh, somebody snuck in here and muted my mic again. It's all about the money.
Again.
They're going to cost, it's going to cost them a lot of money to fight you. You've apparently really given them a good fight. And it's costing both of them a lot of money and a lot of time when they could be going out screwing everybody in the neighborhood. And they're having to deal with this chump truck driver. So the fact that they would offer a deal to a pro se is pretty surprising. So you might look at bringing in a lawyer at this point. They will give a whole lot more to a lawyer than they will to a pro se just because he's a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on. We'll be right back.
All the talk about gun grabbing got you down? How would you like to be the proud owner of a brand new AR-15? Then go to LogosRadioNetwork.com and enter the drawing to win a free Rock River AR-15, sponsored by Zombie Killers Ammo and Guns. Support Logos Radio Network by donating just $20 to their fundraiser, and you'll get your name entered into the drawing. Second place prize is a Spikes Tactical AR-15 lower receiver, sponsored by CentralTexasGunworks.com. Every $20 you donate will put your name in the hat. So increase your chances of winning by increasing your donation. Winners must be eligible to lawfully own and possess these items. Please visit LogosRadioNetwork.com for details. If you love all the liberty-minded programming on Logos Radio Network, contribute to the fundraiser and secure your chance to win a Rock River AR-15, sponsored by Zombie Killers Ammo and Guns. Like them on Facebook at Zombie Killers LLC. Contest ends February 28th. Are you being harassed by debt collectors with phone calls, letters, or even lawsuits? Stop debt collectors now with the Michael Mirris Proven Method. Michael Mirris has won 6 cases in federal court against debt collectors, and now you can win too. You'll get step-by-step instructions in plain English on how to win in court using federal civil rights statutes, what to do when contacted by phone, mail, or court summons, how to answer letters and phone calls, how to get debt collectors out of your credit report, how to turn the financial tables on them and make them pay you to go away. The Michael Mirris Proven Method is the solution for how to stop debt collectors. Personal consultation is available as well. For more information, please visit ruleoflawradio.com and click on the blue Michael Mirris banner, or email michaelmirris@yahoo.com. That's ruleoflawradio.com, or email michaelmirras@yahoo.com to learn how to stop debt collectors now.
You are listening to the Logos Radio Network. LogosRadioNetwork.com.
Well, don't let nothing get to you. Only the Father can deliver you. So don't let bad mind people hurt you. Until Satan get behind you. Know what I mean? My friend, and all of your children, come. Trust in God, me friend. Tell him your problem, babe. Call on his name once again. Miracle, you know he worked the aim. Trust in God, me friend. Tell him your problem, babe. Call on his name once again. Miracle, you know he worked the aim. He am the king, man, he is everything. He's everything to me. That's what I call him.
Okay, we are back. We are talking to Hillbilly Rob from North New Mexico. Okay, and that is, it is the case. We had Michael Maris, who does the credit issues. He said that he made a deal with a lawyer, and the lawyer told him he wanted this to be confidential because he didn't want to read on the news tomorrow that some lawyer got raked over the coals by some, what would he call him, a beach bum? It's a beach bum. So it was a matter of face. And the banks have said, for the most part, they're just not going to give in to pro ses. But I think they're getting so many pro ses that it's, the pro ses are costing them so much that maybe they're beginning to have to. But if and this has been our strategy all along, is we go in and beat them up. We go in and become the pro se from hell. And then once we've got them beat up good, we bring in the lawyer and let the lawyer ride in on his white horse and pull these dirty, rotten scumbag pro ses off those poor, mistreated banks and lawyers and get them in a position to where they can offer a reasonable deal.
I would be willing to do that if I could find a lawyer that had the guts to take it. So far,
they've already made you an offer. That's going to make it a lot easier for the lawyer. Yeah,
I've got one. I won't mention any names, but I've got one that is in the 10th Circuit that's willing to take it if it goes on appeal. He's a friend of mine, but as far as any local lawyers, as I mentioned before, I couldn't even find a lawyer that was willing to handle the petition for declaratory judgment on the matter of the assignment. These local lawyers are just gutless, apparently.
They're probably afraid of the judges.
No, they may be.
Lawyers are all afraid of judges. Okay, do you have anything else for us?
No, I think that was it, except to mention the flag that was hanging directly opposite the magistrate's desk in his office. He had a big, I would say it was probably about 5 by 8. It was big, big Gadsden flag hanging directly across from his desk, so you'd see it every time he looked up. So I think we might have at least one halfway decent guy in the federal system.
For those of you who don't know, that's the flag that says, "Don't tread on me."
I just don't want to let Aunt Janet know about that. She might go after him.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Now we're going to go to Robert in Texas.
Greetings.
Hello, Robert.
How are you doing?
I am.
There's a saying, that my wife has that says, "What did you eat to make you see the future?" Okay, now you remember the MIC, minor in consumption. I called Eddie and you guys on this before, and my son got that citation, and the cops trespassed or criminally trespassed. He was on the toilet and all that. Anyway, you told me to file the motions for dismissal to certified mail, and of course we ran out of time, so we went ahead down to the municipal court. And I told my son, I said, I think I know what's going to happen if we do this. So we get there, and she ends up telling us that we told her, well, we're here on this citation. It says to be here from 8 to 5, and we're here to see Judge so-and-so. And she goes, "Judge so-and-so, there's no Judge so-and-so here." And I'm like, "Well, it says so on that citation right here, Judge so-and-so." She goes, "Oh, no, he hasn't been here for 2 years." And I said, "Really?" I said, well, okay, well, who's the judge then? And she said, "Oh, Judge, this other judge." And I said, "Well, we're here on that then." And she goes, "Well, you're too late. We only do that from 8 to 11:30. And I said, "Well, it says here on the ticket, on the citation, from 8 to 5. And she goes, "Oh, no. We only do that stuff from 8 to 11:30. And I said, "Well, you got two things on that ticket there and invalid." And I said, "That ticket's invalid on its face." And She goes, oh, no, that ticket's still good. And I said, well, okay, then I guess we'll come back on another day, but can you give us the paper saying that it's something that, we had been here already? And she said, no, I can't give you nothing. I'll just set it up for another day. And I said, well, okay, and I was trying to explain to her, that we wanted any information, being that she was going to reset it. I said, well, we want information. She goes, oh, no, you can only have that a day before the your court date. And I said, no, ma'am. I said, we can get it up to one day. And she didn't know, I was trying to explain to her what the statute said or what the law had said. And by that time, the chief of police was standing behind the desk. He goes, what do you want? And I said, sir, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to her. I'm trying to get some information that applies to my citation here. And so, boy, it was just like you said. Out come the Gestapo. Oh, boy.
What did the police officer do?
Well, he said, there was a little room to the side there. And I have been, not debating, just telling her, hey, it's your duty. I need all the information. And she said there was nothing, no complaint, no nothing, no record or anything. I said, so that's all you have is that citation? Am I right on that? And she goes, yeah. And I said, well, look, I don't want the cops knocking on the door, so can you give us the paper saying that we showed up? Because we already met our obligation. We've already been here. And she goes, oh, no, you can't do that. Just because you show up doesn't mean you've shown up. Well, anyway, we went around that for a while, and I was trying to explain to her all I wanted was any information she had. I didn't say complaints or anything. I said information. And with that, I guess that I saw him walk back, and it was almost like when this was happening, everything was like calm and relaxed back there. And as soon as we started asking for stuff, it looked like we stepped on an ant, an ant's nest, red ants, how they start scurrying about. Everyone was looking up and looking around. Anyway, that chief of police, he walks back there. Next thing I know, this guy in a white shirt, plainclothes cop, and two other cops, and I think they were like 6'5" each, come out to the door and he says, excuse me, come in this room over here. I want to talk to you right now. And I said, what? I said, I'm trying to get information here. I said, I don't need you bugging me. And he goes, come over here now. I said, right now. And so I said, okay, fine. And I walked in there, and he's like, you're over here, and she's told you she doesn't have anything for you, and you need to leave. I said, well, that's fine. I said, I just wanted a copy of something that had been here. I didn't want anyone knocking on the door. And he kept interrupting me, and I said, hold on here. Let me explain why I'm here, okay? I said, that way you know. I said, we're not here to cause any problems or anything. We're just here to get information. And he basically told me, he said, I could have you arrested right now. I can arrest you right now for creating a disturbance. I said, I'm not creating any disturbance.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
That now charge him with official oppression.
Yeah.
You have his name?
Yeah, I do.
Good.
And, and so there were two cops standing there, and they're standing there with their guns on their hips. I remember what you told me, and I said, could you please take your hands off of your weapons, because you guys are making me feel really threatened and really uncomfortable, and I know those guns are loaded. And so with that, them cops took their hands off their guns and crossed their arms, I thought of you when they did that. But anyway, so yeah, he kept threatening me, and my son, who's standing behind me, I was here with him because it was his deal. And I said, look, we're just trying to get this straightened out, okay? That's all we're here for. And they tell me that the judge hasn't even been here. Or there's no judge named Hughes. Yeah, he retired like 2 years ago. I said, well, then why is he on that citation? Well, we just have those old tickets around here and all that. And I said, well, okay, but, and then you have 8 to 5, and she tells me it's 8 to 11:30, and I'm trying to tell them the statute, how we're allowed the information, and you're not allowed nothing. All you're getting is that citation. That's it. There's nothing else. And with that, the city attorney walks in. And
okay, hang on. We're about to go to break. This is Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Eddie Craig, Rule of Law Radio. Our call-in number, 512-646-1984. We've still got another hour and a half left. And Mark, Leslie, I see you there. We will pick you up on the other side. We will be right back.
Put down that soda and back away. New research shows drinking one sugary soft drink a day dramatically increases men's odds of developing aggressive prostate cancer. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, back with details in a moment.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This message is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
If you're a man who chugs soft drinks, I've got some bad news. A 15-year study finds men who drink just one can of soda a day were a whopping 40% more likely to develop prostate cancer than those who avoid the stuff. Swedish researchers tracked the diets and health of 8,000 men. They found a clear link between soda and sugary soft drinks and more aggressive, fast-growing forms of the disease. Their analysis also linked consuming large amounts of rice, pasta, cakes, and sugary cereals with a less serious form of prostate cancer. So, fellas, swap that soda for water. The family jewels will be very grateful. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht for StartPage.com, the world's most private search engine.
This is Building 7, a 47-story skyscraper that fell on the afternoon of September 11th.
The government says that fire brought it down. However, 1,500 architects and engineers concluded it was a controlled demolition.
Over 6,000 of my fellow service members have given their lives.
And thousands of my fellow first responders are dying.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
I'm a structural engineer.
I'm a New York City correction officer.
I'm an Air Force pilot.
I'm a father who lost his son.
We're Americans, and we deserve the truth.
Go to rememberbuilding7.org today.
And now we have sheriffs saying, you're not going to do that here. We don't care what laws you pass. You want to play with those little things in Washington, D.C., that's fine. But you're not doing it in my county. As long as I'm the sheriff here, we will draw the line in the sand, and we draw the line with freedom.
Join Sheriff Mack for 2 special free engagements in Austin this week as he encourages you and local law enforcement to stand up to the federal bullies aiming to take away our rights. Sheriff Mack will be speaking this Friday at Hills Cafe, 4700 South Congress Avenue at 7 p.m. And on Saturday at 7 p.m., he will be speaking at your favorite local Liberty bookstore, Brave New Books, located at 1904 Guadalupe. For more information, please call the bookstore at 512-480-2503. And remember always, Austin, be brave.
Live Free Speech Radio, LogosRadioNetwork.com.
Okay, we are back. Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Eddie Craig, Rule of Law Radio. And we're talking to Robert in Texas. Okay, Robert, where were we?
Okay.
You were asking the cops to get their hands off their guns. That's a nice move.
Randy. So anyway, yeah, I asked him to do that, and so the city attorney, he walks in after that, and he's got a paper in his hand, and I'm like, uh-oh. He's probably, got something going on here, so he's like, well, let me explain to you, he tells me, let me explain to you what's going on. She doesn't have any information she can give you. She really doesn't know what you're asking for. And I said, well, she should know. I mean, that is her job, is it not? And, I said, look, we just want any information you have, recordings, whatever you guys got, that pertains to this, because, we were supposed to be in court this morning. I'm playing the dummy here, actually. And, I'm just trying to set up a tar baby for any possible criminal complaints here. So, so he's got this paper, and, I'm settling the police down. I said, look, all I wanted was a record of us being here. And I think I've pretty much got it now that, all this commotion has been raised over this. I said, but, I did not create a disturbance here. But anyway, he says he's got a paper. He says, well, I got you guys taken care of. I got this right here. We'll set it up for pretrial. There's a pretrial, y'all come right here, and he's got dates, and I'm looking at the paper right now. And he's got a docket number on it, and my son's name on it, and pretrial date scheduled, for a certain day, and how I must be there for pretrial conference, whether I've requested a trial or not. And I said, look, wait a minute, we didn't plead anything before any judge. I don't know what you're trying to give us here. I said, but we're not asking for any other kind of paper trial or anything. We just came here to see about the citation, and we'll come in Tuesday. And we'll, see the judge. And he goes, oh, yeah, well, you came in here and you said you didn't want to enter pleading, and automatically that makes it not guilty. And, I was thinking at this time when he's saying all this, man, this guy's reminds me of impersonating a judge. So, he's telling me beings that I did, that I wouldn't enter a plead, that I had automatically, would be a no, not guilty plead, and that, I would come in for this pretrial date and all this stuff. And I said, no. I said, look, we're not agreeing to anything. I said, we're not signing anything. We're not agreeing to anything. And he says, well, that way you guys can get on your way and everything. And let's just go over here and talk to the clerk, and, we'll get you on your way. And he said, he told my son, he says, I need you to just come over here. I'll give you this paper and have you sign this paper, and you'll be on your way. And I looked at my son, and I made the notion. I said, don't you, I told him, not talking to him, but just like him reading my lips, don't you sign anything. And then I told that city attorney, I said, look, we're not signing, he's not signing, we're not signing anything. And so he said, that's okay. I said, here's your paper when you're supposed to appear for pretrial and all that. And I said, I don't know, I'm confused. I said, we're not in front of a judge. And he has a judge's stamp of the municipal court on this paper. Now, this paper doesn't have like in the state of Texas or anything. It just has the city logo on it, docket notice, and that's it. It doesn't say, anything else on it. And so we're walking out the door, and he's like following us, and I said, well, that's okay. I said, I got other stuff to do. I got to go file some criminal complaints on them police officers that, criminally trespassed in my son's house anyway. And he goes, criminally trespass. He goes, oh, no, that's just trespassing. Oh, that's just a Class B misdemeanor is what he said. And I said, oh, really? I said, I think more like a felony. He goes, well, no, it's just a, trespass, and, that's a different matter. I said, yeah, it's a different matter. I said, but, I know better. I said, we're walking out towards the door, so the cops are back in behind their glass wall and all that. And I said, but, they did have deadly weapons, and they did criminally trespass. So,
if they criminally trespassed while displaying a deadly weapon, acting under the color of official authority, 2204B2A, first-degree felony, 20 to life.
Yeah, and I told him, I said, as we're walking outside towards the outside, I'm telling him, you guys are really something else. I said, you're supposed to know the law, and you guys just come up here and you give us this paper, and, all we wanted was information which we were entitled to, and you said we didn't need nothing but a citation. I said, well, what makes it really disgusting is that you're supposed to know the law, and you're over here telling me all these lies and threatening me and stuff. And he's like, well, I've been practicing law for 13 years. I know what I'm talking about. I said, really? I said, well, then why did you agree with the clerk when I told her that, we wanted to see any records or any kind of anything she had on file, and you said that we could only get it on the day before when it says up to the day before. He goes, oh, what law is that? And I said, you want to see that law? And I had a copy of it, and I pulled it out, and I said, there's that law right there. I said, there's that law. And I said, and I said, what really is disgusting is how you people are entrusted with the law, and you go over there lying to me and my son about the rights we had. He's got more rights than what you admitted to. And he goes, well, you just come down here. He changes his tone. He goes, you just come down here, we'll treat you the same as we treat everybody else. And I said, no, sir, you will not. You will treat me according to the law, because I will not be railroaded like you do everybody else. He goes, well, if you're going to come, he's going to come down here, he's got to do it on his own, because you can't be representing him. And I said, well, if I'm his counsel, I can. And he goes, no, you need a licensed attorney. And I said, I said, you're probably not a licensed attorney. He says, I've been working for the city. And I said, really? And who issues a license to practice law in the state of Texas? And he started spouting how the Supreme Court and blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, and the Supreme Court signed that little paper right in front of you, and you took that oath? He goes, well, I went to Austin. He didn't know what to say after that. But here's the kicker, Randy. All this little talk, we had 2 recorders going.
Did you get the police officers?
We got them all.
Okay. Write down, I think it's 2206.
Mm-hmm.
If you threaten someone for the purpose of denying them access to a public building or interrupting their access to a public building, well, that's a terroristic threat.
Yeah.
And I filed that against the district judge once. Oh, that was a hoot.
Imagine. Me and my son, we bought the seminar. We started running through it, and we hit on the 45.018 or 0019, and we read that, and we were knocking ourselves out. Hey, we got to look for angles in the TABC, and we hit that, and we said, wait a minute, we hadn't got to that part in the seminar yet, and we're reading this. I said, it sounds to me like this citation, it's not valid because it's not proper service. It's not a complaint. It's not verified. It's not a information. And then I looked up in I followed that little rabbit trail that Eddie spoke of, and I looked up in the Constitution, and what is it, Article 5, Section 12B, and it explains right there, as clear as day, how they get jurisdiction and how they lose it if they don't do the information or indictment, and who's got the jurisdiction. They don't have jurisdiction. And so, we didn't have time to file, through certified mail, Randy, like you said. Like I said, what do you eat that you can divine the future? Because that's exactly what happened, and we got hassled, and we got threatened, and we got intimidated, and we didn't really get intimidated. We, played the dummy, but I knew what was going on more or less. But he basically just flat out lied to us and bamboozled us. And
best thing you do, file criminal charges against this police officer, because it'll blindside him. He'll never see it coming.
Mm.
Getting out there and put their hands on their guns.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and the city attorney, this paper he brought me with the judge's stamp on it, I wasn't before a judge, and he's over here saying that because I made a pleading, because I made no pleading, it's entered in as a not guilty. That sounds
okay. Okay, we're about to go to break. Do you have anything else for us on the other side?
Well, no, I just wanted to ask you about that city attorney. Can he do this? Can he...
Oh, yeah, he can tell you any kind of whopper he wants to, but you can bar grieve him for it as well.
Yeah, well, I'll just go to the other side to ask you about that.
Okay, hang on to the other side. We'll finish this up on the other side. This is Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Eddie Craig, Rule of Law Radio. Our call-in number, 512-646-1984. Give us a call. Mark, Leslie, we will get to you in the next segment, or at least to Mark, to Leslie.
All the talk about gun grabbing got you down? How would you like to be the proud owner of a brand new AR-15? Then go to LogosRadioNetwork.com and enter the drawing to win a free Rock River AR-15, sponsored by Zombie Killers Ammo and Guns. Support Logos Radio Network by donating just $20 to their fundraiser, and you'll get your name entered into the drawing. Second place prize is a Spikes Tactical AR-15 lower receiver, sponsored by CentralTexasGunworks.com. Every $20 you donate will put your name in the hat. So increase your chances of winning by increasing your donation. Winners must be eligible to lawfully own and possess these items. Please visit LogosRadioNetwork.com for details. If you love all the liberty-minded programming on Logos Radio Network, contribute to the fundraiser and secure your chance to win a Rock River AR-15, sponsored by Zombie Killers Ammo and Guns. Like them on Facebook at Zombie Killers LLC. Contest ends February 28th. Are you the plaintiff or defendant in a lawsuit? Win your case without an attorney with Jurisdictionary, the affordable, easy-to-understand 4-CD course that will show you how in 24 hours, step by step. If you have a lawyer, know what your lawyer should be doing. If you don't have a lawyer, know what you should do for yourself. Thousands have won with our step-by-step course, and now you can too. Jurisdictionary was created by a licensed attorney with 22 years of case-winning experience. Even if you're not in a lawsuit, you can learn what everyone should understand about the principles and practices that control our American courts. You'll receive our audio classroom, video seminar, tutorials, forms for civil cases, pro se tactics, and much more. Please visit ruleoflawradio.com and click on the banner or call toll-free 866-LAW-EASY.
Okay, we are back. Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Eddie Craig, Rule of Law Radio. And hold on a bit, Robert. There is something I did want to address. Folks have been waiting for soap from me. I had problems with my supplier. One of my suppliers took me out of their system because I hadn't bought from them in long enough, and they wanted me to pay them $1,000 worth of product, and I didn't want to do that. It took me a while to find another supplier. But I've got it all made, and I'm hoping tomorrow to get most of it sent out. So have them soap ready, and I hope you like it. I've got a ball of soap that was about 2 inches when I made it. I've been using it for 3 months, and it may be a 1/4 inch smaller than it was when I started. So this stuff really lasts a long time. And would like some good feedback, but I'll have that out shortly. And we're still working on our fundraiser to get enough money to upgrade all this equipment. So if you have a few extra dollars around, we would sure appreciate it. And $20 a piece will get you a spot on the AR-15. Okay, we're going to go back to Mark in Texas.
Right.
Okay, you had one other thing, Mark. Oh, before you start that,
yeah.
The way you dealt with these people, the comfort that you demonstrated is exactly why we do what we do.
Well, I thank you guys for it.
we get. If we can get 5% of the people going into those courts with your level of comfort and knowledge, these guys are going to have themselves a problem. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, what I'm wanting to ask here is, being that he gave me this paper for docket notice, do I still file? I mean, it gave it me all the way till the 20th of March. I'm assuming I still file my motions for dismissal and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And what the city attorney did, I mean, to me, that seems like he's impersonating a judge, is he not? I mean, he's taking my plea without me giving a plea and, stating so. And
that would, if he's saying that you gave a plea, I would take that as impersonating a judicial officer and file on it.
Exactly. I'm definitely going to do that, too. Listen, I talked to my
That's a crime in Texas.
Yeah, and I live there, so. Well, listen, I was talking to my son, and Eddie told me to sue the pants off of the police officers that were looking in on him when he was sitting on the toilet and, putting the light in his face and making him confess and all that. I said, son, it would be so good that if we did file that suit and win it, we should turn around and give a big chunk of that to you guys, because you guys do great work, and I think we need to keep this going, and I think we need to get the word out there. And I'm going to be getting a hold of Eddie. I don't know if he's listening or not. He told me he works, 2 ounces of gold an hour. So we're working on doing that, maybe getting him to help us out on the motions and whatnot. But if that comes up, I'm just letting you know that I talked to my son, and if we ever do that case, and sue these people and get some money out of this, we definitely, and, of course we'll be trying to help any way we can, donating, whatever, but we would definitely be given a big chunk, and I mean a big chunk of if and we get anything to help you guys out, because I think you guys need it, and I think you guys are doing, as they say, the Lord's work.
Well, I sure appreciate it, and
all right.
We certainly could use some help to upgrade our equipment mainly. Every once in a while it gets pretty dicey around here trying to keep everything patched together.
Yeah, and I remember that one night on that show, it sounded like you were playing solitaire or something, so you need to, get some new buttons or something.
Well, I try to keep, where I'm at, I'm not in a good studio. There's too much noise around me.
Yeah.
And I have some trouble with that.
All right, well, just want to say thanks again to Eddie, to Deborah, to you, and I hope my son's listening, and, we're still shaken up and ticked off about all this stuff, but, we're trying, and I have friends who are cops, and they don't believe me when I tell them what's going on, and tell them what they're doing is wrong, because they don't really read the law, and they just don't want to listen, but hopefully they will someday.
That's why you got to kick them on occasion.
Yes, sir. All right, Randy, let's get to the next caller. You all take care, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to Mark in Wisconsin, and this is not just Mark in Wisconsin. This is the other Mark. Hello, other Mark.
Randy, who the heck is impersonating me? I'm the only Mark in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. You're not the one that came to Texas and lowered the average IQ of both states?
No, that's not me. Hey, I heard this guy, Mark from Wisconsin, the other Mark from Wisconsin, discussing trying to get some charges in front of the grand jury. In Wisconsin, there's something called John Doe proceeding. It's 968.26. If I could just read this, 968.26 John Doe proceeding. If a person who is not a district attorney complains to a judge that he or she has reason to believe that a crime has been committed within the judge's jurisdiction, the judge shall refer the complaint to the district attorney, or if the complaint may relate to the conduct of the district attorney, to another prosecutor under 978.045. Okay, and let me read this little part, too. If the district attorney receives a referral under paragraph AM, the district attorney shall, within 90 days of receiving the referral, issue charges or refuse to issue charges. If the district attorney refuses to issue charges, the district attorney shall forward to the judge in whose jurisdiction the crime was allegedly been committed all law enforcement investigative reports on the matter that are in the custody of the district attorney, his or her records and case files on the matter, and a written explanation why he or she refused to issue charges. So if you bring this John Doe proceeding, Randy, the district attorney has to explain to a judge why he's not going to file the charges.
Well, the good part is you get to get a copy of that.
Well, in some cases they can hold this proceeding in secret, so it's up to the judge. So I know they've taken down politicians with this proceeding before, though, Randy. So it can be a powerful tool.
Oh, that could be you don't care if they hold it in secret, then you get to do more. Perception is everything.
Right.
They're only hiding it because they're dirty, rotten, scumbag criminals. You can have a lot of fun with that. That is a cool statute. I wish we had that in Texas.
Yeah, that's 968.26 John Doe proceeding.
So, the other Mark, if he's still listening, he probably is. He's going to like that one.
Yeah, because it really holds them accountable.
Yeah, if we look in the codes we tend to have about all of the checks and balances we need if we just get out there and use them. And with Robert in Texas, he was obviously having fun with these guys. And Mark has way too much fun. So it is nice not to be so threatened and intimidated.
I just got an employee of the village laid off for 3 days for yelling at me. So
that Mark. Now I know who you are. The one that didn't like you trapping in the creek.
Yeah. Well, he got laid off for 3 days with no pay, and I decided not to kick him in the butt anymore. I could have sent a letter to his bonding company and had the village bond go up too. But and I didn't pursue the criminal charges against him either. I got what I wanted. I got him disciplined for what he did, and he probably never will do that again.
Yeah. You probably made him a lot better public employee.
Yep.
He finds out that these citizens out there can sting him good.
Oh yeah. He has no idea, and that was just the tip of the iceberg. I could have taken it much, much further than I did.
Is that yours?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm not sure what that is, but you could have done a lot more. These guys have no idea.
Yeah,
and it's like these guys in Dallas over them breaking into this apartment. Man, they have a problem with just the sergeant telling him that they're looking at filing criminal charges against him. Maybe they are, but he can't say that. I don't think the sergeant has a clue as to the freight train he set on the track coming at him. So we will teach them to be much better employees. I'm an ex-combat veteran, and I take those pistols really, really serious. So when they put their hand on a pistol around me, I get real excited about it. I had a friend who was a police officer here in Texas a long time ago. He was a 20-year police officer, and he said he never once had to pull his weapon. And now we have the policemen just can't wait to get their hands on their pistols. That worries me. Okay, Mark, do you have anything else for us?
Yeah, I had another question. My brother, he lives out in Arizona, and he got in a little argument with his wife, and she stole his beer, took it over to a neighbor's house, and he got mad. He thought the door was metal, and he punched the door. He punched a hole right through the door. So he got a disorderly conduct ticket, and they attached domestic violence to it, which makes it so they want him to take 26 domestic violence classes. And he's already paid for the door. It's already been settled on the private side, but I went through their constitution, and can I just read this little part to you, see if it...
Yeah, wait, hang on. We're about to go to break. This is Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Eddie Craig, Real Law Radio. Our call-in number, 512-646-1984. We're going, this is our top-of-the-hour break. We'll be going about 3-4 minutes, and then we'll be going into our last hour, and it generally builds up toward the end, so give us a call, get in line. Leslie, I see you there. I actually see you there twice. We will pick you up as soon as we get back on the other side and finish with Mark.
Would you like to make more definite progress in your walk with God? Bibles for America is offering a free study Bible and a set of free Christian books that can really help. The New Testament Recovery Version is one of the most comprehensive study Bibles available today. It's an accurate translation, and it contains thousands of footnotes that will help you to know God and to know the meaning of life. The free books are a 3-volume set called Basic Elements of the Christian Life. Chapter by chapter, Basic Elements of the Christian Life clearly presents God's plan of salvation, growing in Christ, and how to build up the church. To order your free New Testament recovery version and Basic Elements of the Christian Life, call Bibles for America toll-free at 888-551-0102. That's 888-551-0102. Or visit us online at bfa.org.
You're listening to the Logos Radio Network at logosradionetwork.com.
You're listening to The Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates. Online at thelibertybeat.com. John Bush here with your Liberty Beat for February 8th, 2013. Gold opened today at $1,677. Silver at $31.76. And Bitcoin is trading at $22.39. Today's edition of the Liberty Beat is sponsored in part by Central Texas Gunworks, offering firearms training courses, concealed carry classes, and firearm sales. Online at centraltexasgunworks.com. And now the news. A former Los Angeles cop with military training vowed war against other men in blue Thursday, leaving one officer dead days after he allegedly killed 2 other people to begin a wave of retribution for being fired, police said. The focus of the intensive, expansive manhunt is Christopher Jordan Dorner, a 270-pound former Navy lieutenant who has professed his venom against LAPD officers he claimed ruined his life by forcing him out of his dream job. Dorner blames one retired officer for bungling his appeal to get his job back in an 11-page manifesto in which he has also complained of mistreatment by the LAPD. In that letter, he vowed to violently target police officers and their families, whoever and wherever they are. The chairman of a Senate committee recessed John Brennan's CIA confirmation hearings and cleared the room after protesters persistently interrupted the proceedings.
Speak for the mothers.
All right.
Children.
We will stop again.
In Yemen,
all right.
Pakistan, Somalia, and where else?
Please remove that
CIA
woman.
And the Obama administration refused to even tell Congress.
Police removed several protesters at the beginning of the hearing on Thursday. More began yelling after Brannon began testifying, and Intelligence Committee Chairman Dianne Feinstein ordered the hearing recessed while the room was cleared. The protesters were shouting objections to lethal U.S. drone strikes and harsh interrogation methods. A severe winter storm is barreling towards some of the most heavily populated parts of the country today, closing thousands of schools, causing massive travel disruption, and threatening to bring more than 2 feet of snow and gale-force winds to much of the Northeast. The National Weather Service issued blizzard warnings from North New Jersey, northeast to Maine, and with New York and Boston expecting to be among the hardest hit. Airlines canceled more than 2,400 flights across the region as the storm barreled eastward from the Midwest and Great Lakes, according to FlightAware.com. The Liberty Beat is sponsored by Parents for Liberty, bringing the philosophy of liberty to parenting and parenting to the philosophy of liberty. Online at parentsforliberty.org, and by Brave New Books, specializing in free-thinking material for free people since 2006. Online at bravenewbookstore.com.
Yeah, story for everyone to hear. About how we're not gonna give in to the fear. Yeah, it's a story. I will live by my father's house till he returns. I will live by my father's house till he has left me with the
Okay, we are back. Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Eddie Craig, Rule of Law Radio, and we're talking to Mark in Wisconsin. Okay, where were we, Mark?
Arizona Constitution, Article 1, Section 30, it states, indictment or information, preliminary examination. Section 30, no person shall be prosecuted criminally in any court of record for felony or misdemeanor, otherwise than by information or indictment. No person shall be prosecuted for felony by information without having had a preliminary examination before a magistrate or having waived such preliminary examination. Now, I looked in his record, and there's no information in indictment. They commenced this thing on citation only, and he's already had the preliminary hearing. I'm just assuming, since they've got preliminary examination after indictment or information, that they were supposed to come with the indictment or information at the preliminary examination. Is it right?
Wait a minute. Who are you referring to?
My brother?
Oh, okay. I missed part of that.
Yeah, he got a ticket for disorderly conduct. He punched a hole.
Brain dead. Yeah, punched in the door. He got ticket, Class C misdemeanor?
I think it was like a Class B misdemeanor.
Oh, and then it wasn't exactly a ticket. There had to be a criminal complaint. The only thing they do, unless it's dramatically different in Wisconsin. Well, no, you said Arizona. Your brother's in Arizona?
Right.
Oh, okay. That was kind of confusing me when you said Arizona and you started. I kind of lost my place. The domestic violence, that's not going to be a low-level misdemeanor, but the disorderly conduct?
See,
never get... this wasn't his house, was it?
No.
Ooh. That's probably clean. You know, if you come up and put your fist through my door, I'm going to get real excited.
Right.
So, okay, they didn't arrest him at the time on either issue?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, and you're saying there's no complaint?
No, there's no indictment or information. It was commenced on citation only.
How long is it? Okay, he was in jail how long?
Just overnight.
Just overnight. Did he see a magistrate before leaving the jail?
I think he did.
They're going to call that the preliminary hearing.
Right. And there's still no indictment or information in the record.
That is, okay, that would have been, that's generally a requirement everywhere. That's what they call for here. Did you say that the Constitution there called for indictment for both felonies and misdemeanors?
Yes.
Because that's what it calls for here in Texas, but they don't do it for, they've changed it statutorily, but it's still in violation of the Constitution.
Right.
Have they done the same thing in Arizona?
I don't know. I haven't gotten that far into it yet. I just found out about it.
Oh, okay.
I was going to make a motion to dismiss, challenge the subject matter jurisdiction because they didn't have that in the record at the preliminary hearing as required by the Arizona Constitution, Article 1, Section 30.
That would be a nice one to file a complaint against the judge for impersonating a judicial officer.
Right, yeah. I was thinking about filing some criminal charges in there, too, because he went into his last appearance, he told him that he had already settled this, and the prosecuting attorney said, if those witnesses don't want to testify, I'm going to arrest them. So I was telling my brother, I said, that sounds like a threat to me. Because they don't even want to testify against him now, Randy. He already paid for the door. And he's already made amends with his wife, amends all around. And here's
they're just trying to get a deal so they can collect probation fees.
Right.
It's all about the money. They don't care about anything else. So go after them. They want to fight? Give them one.
Yeah.
It's always the best strategy is a good offense. Accuse the judge of impersonating a judicial officer because he acted without subject matter jurisdiction. And the judge is going to get real excited about that. and he's going to want this case to go away.
All right.
You know, when we mention to people to go after the judge, they tend to say, "Oh man, I don't want the judge mad at me." So, are you kidding me? You think the judge is going to cut you some slack? Not in this life. He's going to do his worst to you. Unless you can create some political pressure and give him reason to do otherwise.
Right.
Okay. Do you have anything else for us?
That's all I got.
Okay, we kind of got to move along. Leslie's been hanging on for a long time.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay, now we're going to Leslie in Pennsylvania. Hello, Miss Leslie.
Hello, Randy. It's kind of wet and snowy here in Pennsylvania.
Oh, I'm here in Texas. Man, it is cold.
Oh, yeah.
I had to put on a sweater.
Okay, got a couple of questions for you. I wanted to bring up that Tilla decision that came out last week. A friend of mine had a house he was refinancing, and he had a fiance, and he wanted to put his fiance's name on the deed. Well, instead of having her sign the deed, they had her sign the note. And he's in the middle of a quiet title, and today he went to verify that they had the original note and the original mortgage. And he got a look at it, and he said, "What's her signature doing on the note? And what effect does that have on my mortgage and my property? Because her name is not on the deed. Her name is not on the mortgage. And what is that to her?"
Wait. Okay, it's not on the mortgage and not on the warranty deed. That leaves her with no claim. Wait, no. Right. Yeah, that leaves her no claim against property. Property doesn't belong to her.
So what's it to do with her name on the note? What does that effect have on her?
Well, if subrogation occurs, and subrogation is when there is a foreclosure and the property sells at a distressed price and does not bring enough to satisfy the note, then the lender can come back to the borrower for the difference. Or if a insurance company indemnifies the lender, then the insurance company can come back after the borrower for the difference, for what it costs them under subrogation.
Wow.
That would put her liable for the note without owning the property.
Right. That's what he was wondering how to, it's one thing about the quiet title, but with this is something entirely, this is a new twist.
Yes, it is.
They didn't realize that they didn't realize that she had, they knew that they didn't put in the paperwork they were supposed to put her name on the deed, but they didn't know what she had signed that they threw out.
Well,
and evidently they didn't throw out. They just had her sign the note.
Yeah, well, they didn't care. They didn't care if she'd signed the deed of trust or not. As long as they got one signature on it, that's all they need. Maybe. Okay, this is something different. Since she signed the note, she has effectively paid for half of the house. Are these two still together?
They're married now.
Okay, is it a community property state?
Pardon? Yeah.
It's irrelevant then.
Yeah.
Makes no difference, and it probably wouldn't anyway, even if it wasn't a community property state, because the house is not something that the husband owned prior to or accrued himself. They both accrued that property. She would have a claim anyway. It's going to be an irrelevant issue.
Yeah. So it just was kind of weird, and he was upset about it. So I thought I'd give it a...
I have seen that a few times, and it always worked out the same way, that it was irrelevant. Didn't make any difference.
Okay. Now, we had this wonderful decision come through from the Third Circuit Court of Appeals for TILA rescissions, where they have the lawyers for the banks have said you have to file a lawsuit within 3 years where the rescission doesn't count. And nowhere do I read in 15 U.S.C. 1635 anywhere that the borrower is supposed to have a lawsuit that they have to file to uphold the rescission. It says it's effective upon mailing the notice of rescission. And that's what the court said. They said, nope, they don't have to file any kind of a lawsuit. All they have to do is if they decide to foreclose on the people, they just have to say, well, we rescinded, that's your problem. So that was, I think that's pretty good. You there? Hello?
Somebody keeps muting my mic. Okay, wait a minute. I kind of missed what that was about. I don't know if I'm not hearing right.
In 1635, the rescission part of TILA, they say that it says in
Oh, TILA. Okay. I'm sorry. Truth in Lending Truth in Lending Act. Okay, 1635. Okay.
In the rescission, it says all you have to do is file a notice, send them in notice in the mail. It has to be in writing, and it's effective immediately upon mailing. And the lender has 20 days to return to you your money and your property security. Well, the lenders have been saying...
Okay, did it extend the time you have to file to move for rescission, or did it uphold the lack of full notice? That's the one that would tend to extend it.
Right. That's extended for 3 years, and the lawyers for the banks are saying, oh no, you have to file a lawsuit to make it stick because it's not final until the judge says so. These judges says no, it's final upon mailing, just like it says in the statute.
Yeah, it's a contractual issue. It's not a judicial issue.
Well, actually, what it says is there's two kinds, and it's spelled it out in here. It said there's two kinds of rescissions: equitable and statutory. The TILA rescission...
Okay, hold on. We're about to go to break. This is Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Eddie Craig, Rule of Law Radio. We're talking to Leslie in Pennsylvania. Jeff, I see you there. We will get to you on the other side. We'll be right back.
All the talk about gun grabbing got you down? How would you like to be the proud owner of a brand new AR-15? Then go to LogosRadioNetwork.com and enter the drawing to win a free Rock River AR-15, sponsored by Zombie Killers Ammo and Guns. Support Logos Radio Network by donating just $20 to their fundraiser, and you'll get your name entered into the drawing. Second place prize is a Spikes Tactical AR-15 lower receiver, sponsored by CentralTexasGunworks.com. Every $20 you donate will put your name in the hat. So increase your chances of winning by increasing your donation. Winners must be eligible to lawfully own and possess these items. Please visit LogosRadioNetwork.com for details. If you love all the liberty-minded programming on Logos Radio Network, contribute to the fundraiser and secure your chance to win a Rock River AR-15, sponsored by Zombie Killers Ammo and Guns. Like them on Facebook at Zombie Killers LLC. Contest ends February 28th. At Capital Coin and Bullion, our mission is to be your preferred shopping destination by delivering excellent customer service and outstanding value at an affordable price. Capital Coin features a great selection of high-quality coins and precious metals. In addition to providing the best prices in the nation, we want to bring you the best shopping experience both in-store and online. In addition to coins and bullion, we carry popular longevity products such as Beyond Tangy Tangerine and Pollen Burst. We offer freeze-dried storable foods by Augustin Farms, Berkey Water Products, ammunition at 10% above wholesale, and more. You can lock in a spot price with our silver pool, and we set up metals IRA accounts. Call us at 512-646-6440 for more details. We're located at 7304 Burnett Road, Suite A, about a half mile south of Anderson. We're open Monday through Friday 10 to 6, Saturdays 10 to 2. Visit us at capitalcoinandbullion.com or call 512-646-6440.
This is the Logos Radio Network.
Oh, come on.
Okay, we are back. Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Eddie Craig, Rule of Law Radio, and we're talking to Leslie in Pennsylvania. Okay, Leslie, go ahead.
Okay. What they made very clear in Scherzer v. Home Store was that there are two types of rescissions. There's a rescission in equity and rescission at law.
Yes, I'm familiar with inequity. That's what is in the mortgage or deed of trust. And okay, I'm not thinking the rescission in the statutory rescissions would be in TILA, the Truth in Lending Act.
Yes, rescission at law. Yes.
Okay, go ahead. I interrupted. I'm brain dead.
Is one that you have other reasons to rescind, and you sue for.
Yeah.
But
okay. Yeah. Let me. I address the other reasons quite a bit.
Exactly.
Where
so if you have a rescission at law, you do not have to sue. That's what this decision says. But if you want a rescission for other reasons, then you would sue under equity. But that is not required under TILA.
Oh, so if I come to the court or if I come to the lender and say, you breach this covenant of the mortgage or the deed of trust, therefore you repudiated the contract, and that repudiation acts as voluntary rescission, so I move for rescission. In that case, I would have to get a judicial determination.
Right.
Okay, and then the other case, we have statutory authorization under Truth in Lending Act.
Yes. So that's automatic as soon as it's sent, and no lawsuit required.
Wonderful.
But if you want them to remove their interest and they fail to within the 20 days, you may have to sue for quiet title or wait until they try to file foreclosure and prove that you sent the rescission.
It's always better to sue them first. And if you've got rescission, that's a good way to bring them to the table for a deal you can't pass up. And this sounds like, when I'm hearing this, the banks are going to ignore a notice of rescission because they figure most people are not going to know how to fight it, won't have lawyers who know how to fight it. Right. But if you file for rescission and with this ruling, then it's a done deal. So when you do get to court, it doesn't fade away. Your time doesn't run out. You have this bomb you can drop on them. And I really like the bushwhack method. Where you get them into court and bushwhack them with rescission. That is res judicata. It's a done deal.
Yeah. And basically that's the way it goes.
Good. We've been getting more and more decisions in our favor. It seems like we're approaching a tipping point.
The only thing they didn't do, and I wish they would have gone into it further, is to take a deeper look into 1635, where it says they have 20 days to return the money and the property to the people, and that the people then have to return what they got from the bank. But they didn't go into it deep enough to say that when that 20 days passes, they are barred from doing anything about it.
Okay, well, no, as I understand in rescission, there still must be tender.
That's what I'm saying. But if they don't challenge it in 20 days, that means they accepted it. They have 20 days to get their act together, and then 20 days after that, then the people, once the bank has done their part in returning the security interest and doing that, they have 20 days, and then the borrower has 20 days to tender.
To tender, okay. And this is, we put together a lawsuit based on the false fees charged at closing and the variation between the note and the truth in lending statement, so that we could come in with a number high enough for tender.
Right.
So that we move for rescission and then tender by set-off against the claim that we had against them. And the tender's the hard part.
Right. Well, with some people it is. But from what the lawyers that I talked to, they mean tender is the money that you walked away from the table with, not the amount of the loan.
Oh, wait.
What they're talking about.
Now, they need to explain that. Oh, you give them back the house.
No. Till a 6
Oh, unless you give them the money that they put out. How do they not get back? Okay, wait. As I understand what occurs here is they have to give you back all of the funds you gave them.
Uh-huh.
You have to give them back all the funds they gave you.
Right. But they're only the funds that they gave you, not the ones that are paid to others on your behalf. They're talking about money that they gave you, that you walked away from the table with.
Over and above?
Yeah.
Or you walked away from the table with a warranty deed. The money they paid for that warranty deed is is the value you walked away from the table with.
From what I understand, From what I understand, 1635 is for refinancing only. So if you refinanced your house and you walked away with $15,000, $15,000 is what you repay, not the $165,000 of the total loan.
There's something that goes to inequity here.
Well,
if the bank, releases the original lien and files another lien, then they still have the claim against the property. And that claim was, as a lien, would have to be satisfied. Just giving you back any equity that you pull from the property doesn't satisfy the original claim against the property.
Yeah. But see, the thing that I think it goes into is where the money comes from the beginning, but that's reading something into it. But like I said, the lawyers that I have talked to have said, no, what you pay is what you walked away from the table.
Yeah, but okay, what do they mean by what you walked away from the table with? Do they mean cash in hand or value?
Yeah, cash in hand.
Then that leaves the value of the property unsatisfied.
Well, I don't know how they figure that, but that's what.
Yeah, if I give you $215,000 and you're just the property only costs $200,000, and you rescind and only give me back $15,000, I'm out $200,000. See the problem?
You're talking about you as a person, but as the banks, you're getting into this thing when they use your signature to monetize the debt.
Okay, there's a big misunderstanding about that. It's been passed around a long time. When they use your signature in order to draw the money from the Federal Reserve.
Right.
Because they're doing fractional lending. And yes, the Federal Reserve does create that money.
Mm-hmm.
But when you pay back the note, the intention is that money goes back to the ether from which it came. So while you create the money, when you pay it back, you destroy the money. And the intention is it balances out in the end. We've got a lot of callers. I really need to move along. Do you have anything else for us, Leslie?
Nope, that's it. I was just hoping that would,
it's another notch.
I only have eyes for you. Soon, store mannequins may be singing that tune. They're being outfitted with cameras to watch us while we shop. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, back with details after this.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This message is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
It's disturbing enough that big brother governments use facial recognition technology to identify and track people on the streets. Now clothing companies in Europe, Canada, and America are getting in on the act. So where do they hide the cameras? In the eyes of mannequins. That's right, those glamorous plastic ladies in the display windows may be watching you back. They're called eye seers, and their job is to log the age, gender, and race of passersby, so retailers can devise new schemes to get you to buy. But hang on, aren't mannequins spooky enough already? This is taking weird science to a whole new level. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht for StartPage.com, the world's most private search engine.
A Noble Lie, Oklahoma City, 1995, will change forever the way you look at the true nature of terrorism.
Based on the damage pattern to the building, what the government says is impossible.
The grand jury did not want to hear anything I had to say.
The decision was made not to pursue any more of those individuals.
Some of these columns were ripped up, shredded, tossed around.
The people that did the things they did knew doggone well what they were doing.
Expose the cover-up now at ANobleLie.com.
At HempUSA.org, we offer chemical-free products to people around the world, detoxifying, self-healing, while rebuilding the immune system. We urge our listeners to please consider our largest-selling product, Micro Plant Powder. Our Micro Plant Powder is rich in iodine, probiotics, zinc, and silica to help rebuild the immune system and to create a healthy stomach flora. Micro Plant Powder is excellent for daily intake and is perfect to add to your storage shelter. We urge our listeners to please visit us at HempUSA.org. And remember, all of our products are chemical-free and healthy to eat. We constantly strive to give you the best service, highest quality, and rapid shipping anywhere. And we offer free shipping on orders over $95 in the U.S. Please visit us at HempUSA.org or call 908-691-2608. That's 908-691-2608. See what our powders, seeds, and oil can do for you at HempUSA.org.
You are listening to the Logos Radio Network. LogosRadioNetwork.com.
I see tools of ingenuity used against the workers of iniquity. Tools of massive capability.
Okay, we are back. Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Eddie Craig, Groove Law Radio. We're going to Jeff in Maryland. Hello, Mr. Jeff. It's been a while since we've had you on here.
Yes, it has been a while, Randy. How the heck are you, guy?
I am doing good. I woke up this morning and I checked the obituaries, and neither one of us were in there.
But I'm calling because there's been a recent release of the documents out of the Federal Trade Commission that I think your listeners really ought to grab a hold of and do some reading on. One is the FTC debt buying report that was published, actually released on January 30th this year. So it is fresh and hot from the presses. And in that testimony to Congress, they reported that less than 2% of the debtors ever dispute the debt, and that less than 16% of the electronic data files that they buy from the creditors contain any documentation at all.
At all?
At all. They can also download the Unifund case, which was a precedential case. And they go to the top of the third page, and it says in there that they load their computers with the data files that they purchased from the creditors, and they purchased them on the basis of as is and with faults. And they load them into their computer, and they cut their proprietary software loose on it, and it goes through the files, and it's queries. That is to say, it goes and pulls your credit report. And if you are worthy for them to sue you, it spits out letters to you saying you owe the debt. If they think that it's going to be too costly for them to pursue it, they'll take those accounts and sell them off to some different level debt collector. Now, the thing that's really significant about that is at no time during that process has anybody ever looked at the files to determine if there was sufficient documentation for them to have a permissible purpose to pull your credit report.
Ooh, and with no permissible purpose, they're looking at felony?
Looking at an FCRA action. And if they do it multiple times, that's multiple penalties. Okay, now this report is 167 pages long, and it is packed with what the debt collectors do to violate you.
Oh, wonderful.
So here's the thing that you need, that your listening audience needs to take a look at. If less than 2% of the people dispute, that means that greater than 98% are being victimized. If the files less than 16% of the accounts have any documentation, then what is that? 84% are unfounded and untrustworthy accounts.
And that goes to FDCPA.
Yes, it does.
1692E, where they're making demands for payment, and they have no authority to make the demand.
Right, and then they threaten an action they can't take, and if it has been disputed, they can't verify it. So if they proceed to sue you for it, then they're taking an action they cannot take.
This goes exactly to the suits that we're filing, the FDCPA suit, where we say, "Who the heck are you?"
Right. Now, if they're interested in taking a look at this, they can go to Void Judgments, that's plural, judgments.com, scroll down the page and click on the link that says Support Docs for Suing Debt Collectors. And when that page comes up, scroll down to a collection of documents usable in an FCRA federal action, and there are 3 files they want to pull down. One is the FTC Debt Buying Report 2013, an article about the FTC report, and the Unifund, which is labeled Unifund Important Precedential Court Case. And just for grins, they may want to download the Harkins versus Diversified FCRA impermissible purpose in Maryland court case and the findings of that court.
Will you send me an email on that?
I'll send you the link to the page. How about that?
That would be great.
And would Skype, you want email or Skype?
Either one. Skype do just fine. Skype's easier for me to get to. Have you looked at my financial analysis page?
I haven't been there. I've been a little bit busy building a website.
Beat yourself around the eyes and ears with the phone receiver as punishment. You should look at that. It is a whole different paradigm.
Well, I just about burned the ears off an OCC call center clerk today. I'm getting ready to sue the Capital One Bank USA NA. And what I discovered is that they are no longer required to register with the Secretary of State. And in particular, where they're headquartered in Virginia, they're no longer required to register with the Secretary of the Commonwealth. And was told by the Secretary of the Commonwealth to call the OCC, and I call the OCC, and they say, well, you need to call the FDIC, and the FDIC says, we haven't got any such records like that as to who would accept service of process. You'll have to go back to OCC. They're a regulator of NAs, and they have the information. They should give it to you. And I call them back to OCC and start jumping up and down because this sounds like either OCC is incompetent or they're shielding NAs from civil actions.
That would bring them in on every one of these suits.
No kidding.
Oh, great fun.
No kidding.
Okay, reason I said I'd like you to look at that is you gave me a path to this document on your website.
Yeah.
Don't so much look at that for the information that's in it. Look at it for the structure. Anything that's in my in that website, you can look at that first page and see where it's at very quickly. It's a way of structuring the information so that people can not only find what they're looking for, but look at all of the elements and how they relate to one another. So you get a good feel for how all of these pieces fit together.
Yep.
We have people come to us and they ask us a question about something and we explain a document to them. And it's like they're looking down a tunnel, like they've got blinders on.
Yeah.
Because they don't have that other information to refer to. All they can see is this document. And they ask us these simplistic questions. And it kind of took me a while to realize they don't have a broad-based view. And this structure is for that purpose. And what I'm looking to do is build the largest research repository of this kind on the planet.
I heard you talking earlier about subject matter jurisdiction, and that's one of the primary things that this particular website talks about is subject matter jurisdiction and the lack thereof, and what it takes and what constitutes lack of subject matter jurisdiction. And I've had a judge say to me, well, the legislature gave me jurisdiction. I'm sorry, Your Honor, but you're trying to confuse me with venue. The legislature didn't give them subject matter jurisdiction, they gave them venue.
Exactly.
The ability to hear that type of case, not this instant case.
Yeah. He gave the court jurisdiction over you if the court had subject matter jurisdiction over the subject matter.
Right. And it doesn't most of the time. Most of the time the pleadings fail. They're either a 12B6 or a 12B1.
Okay, hang on. We're about to go to break. This is Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Eddie Craig, Rule of Law Radio. Daryl, I see you there. Steve and Renee. We may not get to all of you. We've got one segment left. We'll be right back on the other side.
And now we have sheriffs saying, you're not going to do that here. We don't care what laws you pass. You want to play with those little things in Washington, D.C., that's fine. But you're not doing it in my county. As long as I'm the sheriff here, we will draw the line in the sand, and we draw the line with freedom.
Join Sheriff Mack for 2 special free engagements in Austin this week as he encourages you and local law enforcement to stand up to the federal bullies aiming to take away our rights. Sheriff Mack will be speaking this Friday at Hills Cafe, 4700 South Congress Avenue at 7 p.m. And on Saturday at 7 p.m., he will be speaking at your favorite local Liberty bookstore, Brave New Books, located at 1904 Guadalupe. For more information, please call the bookstore at 512-480-2503. And remember always, Austin, be brave.
Are you the plaintiff or defendant in a lawsuit? Win your case without an attorney with Jurisdictionary, the affordable, easy-to-understand 4-CD course that will show you how in 24 hours, step by step. If you have a lawyer, know what your lawyer should be doing. If you don't have a lawyer, know what you should do for yourself. Thousands have won with our step-by-step course, and now you can too. Jurisdictionary was created by a licensed attorney with 22 years of case-winning experience. Even if you're not in a lawsuit, you can learn what everyone should understand about the principles and practices that control our American courts. You'll receive our audio classroom, video seminar, tutorials, forms for civil cases, pro se tactics, and much more. Please visit ruleoflawradio.com and click on the banner or call toll-free 866-LAW-EASY.
Okay, we are back. Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Eddie Craig, Rule of Law Radio, and we're talking to Jeff in Maryland.
Yeah, and Randy, I hung on because you might have a question for me, but I don't want to take too long because you do have your regular listeners that have called in, and I don't want to eat up their time.
Oh, okay. Well, we did get a stack of them. We always get a bunch at the end. And stay in touch. I do want to talk to you about this. I have a plan to raise our visibility considerably.
Okay, well, again, that website where the documents are available is voidjudgmentsplural.com. And you click on the link of support documents for suing debt collectors, and they'll find the reports on that page.
Okay, and I'm building this forensic analysis page. I will, since this is about mortgages and mostly he does, Jeff does credit cards and credit and such, I will put a link to void judgments and your remedies.
Thank you.
Hey, it's the kind of guy I am.
Well,
you're only saying that because you don't hear all the stuff we say about you behind your back.
Oh, yes, I do. I can hear the ground.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, now we're going to go to Daryl in Texas.
Randy,
well, it seems that the police have not beaten you into unconsciousness yet.
No, but I'm barely hanging on from what they have done to me. Come into my house, break into my house, come there without me asking them to come there, rob my place, steal my car, steal.
Okay, hold on. Let me back up and give a synopsis. Daryl made a deal with the woman to help her stop foreclosure, and she wrote him a warranty deed if he could stop foreclosure and then sue the bank, and whatever settlement he got, he'd give back to her. So that was their deal. He moved into the property to preserve it, stopped the foreclosure. Then she changed her mind for some reason or other, and because she was an ex-cop, she drilled out, they had the locks drilled out, and she entered the property with gun in hand. And this she told to someone else that she did that. And then they brought local police, and they came in and they took stuff out of the property. They took his files, they took computers, took his car. And then he called the police, try to find out what's going on. Nobody wants to tell him anything. So we kind of started digging into it, and this is where we're at now. I mentioned earlier about a sergeant threatening someone in order to prevent them from filing criminal charges. This was Daryl. Okay, Daryl, we're kind of up to speed. Go ahead. Where are we now? Has anything happened? Did you take in the criminal complaints we made up today?
The people claim that the secretary was not there, the mayor was not there, no one was there. You know, it's almost like
they were probably hiding out back, looking around the corner.
Yeah, it's all like everybody's like hiding. But you know, at the end of the day, they gotta know by now that and how do you keep avoiding dealing with it? I mean, I'm not really understanding why nobody won't just come forward and just deal with it.
Well, because everybody is implicated. Everybody's trying to protect each other. The mayor is looking at the city getting sued, and the mayor is the one that pretty well decides how the police performs their function. He hires and retains the chief of police, and the city is pretty well responsible for what the police officers do. The police officers are all trying to protect each other. They got careless and stupid and had someone who didn't lay down, roll over for them.
Well, you know, the thing that really kills me about it is when I talk to the detective and I ask the detective, what grounds did you have to go into my house? He said that the lady told him that she was the owner. Her mother told him that she was the owner, and the neighbor told him that she was the owner, and the previous people who lived in the house told him that she was the owner, so therefore she must be the owner. I say, boy, have you really got it wrong.
Well, they're more wrong than just that. It didn't matter that she was the owner. That was the wrong question. Who is the current resident? That's the question.
Right.
It's not the owner who has a privacy right to the property. It is the resident. And it had to have been clear to them after they entered the premise that this was not the resident of the owner. That this was at worst, it was on squatters, adverse possession.
Right.
Again, you can take property under adverse possession. If the property was empty, and you can move into the property. And if nobody objects, you hold it legally under adverse possession until someone comes along who is the owner, who can prove they're the owner and raises an objection. But if they don't do that within 7 years, they can't. So you can move into any empty property. It's not a crime. It goes to squatters' rights. And this was done for abandoned property. Here this property's been empty, 2 years?
2 years.
Yeah, so these police should have known this, that you can move into the property under adverse possession, and if the owner comes along and sees you in the property, they have to evict you. They can't enter because you have possession. Even it's adverse, and it can be overcome, but until it is, you got rights. You got privacy rights. No way these police could not have known that. This was a woman who was an ex-policewoman, right?
Right. She was an ex-policewoman, and, those were her friends. She stated to someone that told me what she said, that she was an ex-police officer. Those were her friends, and that, she could do whatever she wanted to do. And she, basically did it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that they're used to people not knowing what we teach on this show. They're used to people just trying to deal with them. They're not used to people coming right at them. And what Daryl's going to do now is file criminal charges against the woman who entered, a detective that he talked to that indicated that he was in the property, and the sergeant who smart-mouthed him and threatened him with criminal charges against him in order to prevent him from pursuing action against his fellow buddy police officers. He was squeezing up behind this thin blue line. Well, he may find that this line is a whole lot thinner than he intended for it to be, because from what I've seen of these guys, they will protect one another as long as it's easy. But when we start coming at them, he will throw everybody to the wolves. So we're charging him with tampering with a witness. 3605 Penal Code, and it's felony in the state of Texas. So you want to smart mouth me, Bubba? We'll see how that works out for you.
Right. But, and I'm so traumatized, it's beyond belief. I mean, they trashed the house out. They flipped over the beds. They pulled all the drawers out. They broke everything up. And then whatever they wanted, they took it. The police they claim they have possession of the car. They claim they have possession of the files, but they don't have possession of anything else. But everything else that's got broken is missing. All of my TVs are missing. My money is missing. My furniture is missing. Everything is missing, and I just can't even believe. I don't believe this could even happen right in your face.
Well, the reason you don't believe that is you don't listen to this show enough. You'd hear a lot of this kind of stuff. The police are absolutely out of control.
They're out of control beyond belief. I call them up on the telephone, and I go, what did I do to deserve this? They told me point blank, nothing. I said, well, is there a warrant for my arrest? No. Well, was there a warrant issued to go into my house? No. I said, well, is it safe to go back to my house? He said, why not? You didn't do anything. I say, well, okay, why is this happening to me? Well, I can't tell you that.
Yeah, they were all closing ranks because at some point they had to realize this was a mistake. That they had really acted stupid, and they were hoping that you wouldn't know how to come after them. When the mayor sees those criminal complaints tomorrow or Monday, I suspect he's going to get real excited. Apparently, the mayor has a business there in Glen Heights. You just need to find out where it is, and you get the complaints to him. We're not going to give the mayor notice that he's a magistrate. Daryl's not a lawyer and has no duty to give him legal advice, but when he doesn't act in accordance with his duty as a magistrate, everybody here knows what we're going to do to him. Thank you, Daryl. We are out of time. This is Randy Kelton, Deborah Stevens, Eddie Craig, Steve, Renee. I'm sorry we couldn't get to you. Call back Thursday. We'll try to take you early. Deborah and Eddie will be back Monday. Thank you for listening, and good night.
Bibles for America is offering absolutely free a unique study Bible called the New Testament Recovery Version. The New Testament Recovery Version has over 9,000 footnotes that explain what the Bible says verse by verse, helping you to know God and to know the meaning of life. Order your free copy today from Bibles for America. Call us toll-free at 888-551-0102 or visit us online at bfa.org. This translation is highly accurate, and it comes with over 13,000 cross-references, plus charts and maps and an outline for every book of the Bible. This is truly a Bible you can understand. To get your free copy of the New Testament Recovery Version, call us toll-free at 888-551-0102. That's 888-551-0102. Or visit us online at bfa.org.
Looking for some truth? You found it. LogosRadioNetwork.com.